I'm Melissa. I'm standing in the hallway outside the courtroom, the heavy oak doors closing behind me with a thud. The silence is deafening, a stark contrast to the chaos that just unfolded inside. The legal battle is over, but I know the war isn't. My sister, Isabella, and my parents, Richard and Elizabeth, thought they could outmaneuver me, but they underestimated me and my grandfather's foresight. My grandfather, Henry, was a wise and shrewd man. He built a successful business from the ground up, amassing a fortune that many would envy. But he also knew the true value of family, and he saw the greed and ambition in Isabella's eyes long before I did. That's why he took steps to protect his estate and ensure that his wishes were carried out. It all started 8 months ago when Henry had a fall in his kitchen. It was a simple accident, but it changed everything. His independence was shattered, and he needed help. I was the one who stepped up, putting my freelance graphic design career on hold to move in with him and take care of him. Isabella, on the other hand, was too busy with her high society life in the city to be bothered. As Henry's condition improved, Isabella and my parents started to show up more often. They brought expensive gifts and showered him with false affection, but I could see through their act. They were after his money, plain and simple. Isabella would call him on video, asking him about his assets and accounts, trying to get him to say something that she could use against him. One Tuesday night, a mobile notary showed up at the house. He said he had an appointment with Henry to sign some estate documents. I knew something was wrong, but Henry insisted on letting him in. When the notary presented the document, it was clear that it was an attempt to transfer power of attorney to Richard. Henry refused to sign, and he threatened to call the police if the notary didn't leave. That was the moment when Henry decided to take matters into his own hands. The next day, he took me for a drive to an office building in the city center. It was a discreet place, with a bronze plaque that read, Silverwood Fiduciary. He told me to wait in the waiting room while he went inside. 3 hours later, he came out looking lighter, carrying a thick blue folder. He didn't say much about what happened inside, but he gave me a simple spiral-bound notebook and told me to start logging everything. From that day on, I became a ghost in my own house, documenting every interaction with Isabella and my parents. I logged their phone calls, their visits, and their attempts to access Henry's accounts. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was building a case against them. When Henry passed away, I expected a simple probate process. But Isabella had other plans. She showed up at the probate hearing wearing a designer coat that probably cost more than my car, flanked by my parents. Her lawyer, Mr. Thompson, filed a motion for an expedited summary judgment, claiming that Isabella was the primary executor named in the 2019 will. I objected, asking the judge to wait. Just then, a man in a black suit entered the courtroom, carrying a single sealed manila envelope. His presence changed the atmosphere in the room. He was the trustee from Silverwood Fiduciary, and he had the evidence that would turn the case around. The document inside the envelope revealed that Henry had created a revocable living trust 8 months ago, well before his death. The trust transferred all of his assets out of his name and into the trust, with Silverwood Fiduciary as the sole successor trustee. Isabella and my parents were shocked. They had no idea that the trust existed. Isabella's lawyer tried to argue that the trust was a forgery, but the trustee presented evidence that it was properly executed, witnessed, and funded. He also pointed out that Isabella had been trying to access the trust's secure portal and alter the routing instructions for the cash distribution, which was an attempted theft. The judge ruled in my favor, activating the no contest clause in the trust. Isabella was removed as a beneficiary, and her share was revoked. My parents were also enjoined from contacting any financial institution connected to the estate. It was a major victory, but I knew it wasn't over. After the hearing, Isabella and my parents tried to smear my name. They spread rumors that I had isolated Henry and forced him to sign the trust. They even filed a motion for an elder abuse investigation, but the evidence I had collected, along with the trustees' due diligence, proved that their claims were baseless. But Isabella didn't stop there. She tried to hack into the trust's portal, using Henry's personal information to bypass the security. She was desperate, and she knew that if she didn't get the money, She would lose everything. Her husband's hedge fund had failed, and they were drowning in debt. Nolan, my attorney, and the trustee, Mr. Thompson, were able to track Isabella's attempts and prove that she had been aware of the trust long before the hearing. They also discovered that Isabella had forged the 2019 will. She had spent hours watching Henry sign checks, practicing his signature until it was perfect. As the case progressed, we learned more about Isabella's financial situation. She had taken out a large loan from a private equity group, using Henry's future inheritance as collateral. She had sold his shares in a commercial real estate syndicate before he was even dead, hoping to pay off her debts. In the final hearing, the judge found Isabella and her lawyer in contempt. Isabella was completely disinherited, and her lawyer was ordered to pay the legal fees. My parents were also facing a criminal investigation for their involvement in the attempted fraud. Now, as I stand in the hallway, I feel a sense of relief. The legal battle is over, and I have won. But I also feel a deep sadness. I have lost my family, and I know that things will never be the same. I look down at the spiral-bound notebook in my hand. It's a reminder of the truth, of the evidence that I collected over the past 8 months. Grandpa was right. When people try to erase you with a story, don't scream. Don't fight, and don't play their game. Just put the evidence on the table. Stand straight, and let the law do the rest. I take a deep breath and start walking toward the exit. It's time to go home, to the house that was once filled with so many memories. I have a garden to water, and I know that Grandpa would be proud of me.